fam. Come on in here. It's Pastor Don. Welcome to WW. I'm excited to be here. I pray, God, you had a phenomenal day. Come on in here. Come on in here. We want to go back into our series entitled Right Instructions, but the Wrong Response. Remember last week we stopped at Jonah chapter 1. We stopped at verse number 4. I want to draw your attention tonight to verse number 5. I'm going to read number 4 and then we'll go to 5, if that's okay. Verse number 4 says, Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. Verse number 5, all the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God, and they threw the cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. Remember, right instructions, wrong response. If y'all remember, we talked about Jonah being told what to do, where to go. Jonah chose to go the opposite direction. Jonah pays his fare, gets on a ship to sail and go over to Tarshish. But then God says, okay, since you think you are clever enough to run from the presence of the Lord, I don't know where in the world could he have gotten that idea that he can run from the presence of the Lord. Because y'all do know that the God we serve is omnipresent, right? That means he's everywhere at the same time. So he gets on the ship. God says, okay, all right, let me call. Now, God, the same one in verse number 1, it says, and the word of the Lord came to Jonah. That same Lord, that same God, that same powerful one, that almighty one, now goes from talking, y'all ready for this? Goes from talking to Jonah to Lord, get your mouth right, to start talking to the wind and the water. Trying to get Jonah to obey. Jonah didn't obey, but he talked to the wind and the water, and the wind and the water obeyed him, to the point that the ship felt like it was going to break in half. The sailors were afraid. Each of them cried out to his own God, and they threw cargo trying to lighten the load. But then Jonah, with his old crazy self, twisted up in the mix. Sin can get us so messed up, y'all. I'll never forget it. And if you know Brenda Bethea, you tell her that Pastor Don is still referring to her in this sense. Brenda Bethea, let her know, Preacher Walker, let her know I said these words. She said, sin will take you further than you want to go and keep you longer than you want to be kept. I promise you, I'll try to never forget that as long as I live, because that's the God's honest truth. That's the God's honest truth. That's it. Yeah, I'm telling you, that's it. So watch this. Jonah is asleep. And verse number 6 says, they go and tell him, say, look here, man. The captains went to him and said, how in the world? How can you sleep? Get up and call on your God. Maybe he will take, watch this. He will take notice of us so that we will not perish. Because we call on our God ain't working. So you might want to call on your God, because something's going on that ain't working for in our benefit. Because we literally feel like this ship is going to break into two. How in the world can you sleep? See, sin will cause you to be so asleep in your sin that when you won't even realize you are in trouble. We will not realize that we've been in trouble these folks are throwing, can you imagine the calamity, the noise that's going on around them? All this wind, this water, they scared, they throwing stuff over the side, and you down here asleep. Watch this. Verse number 7. Then the sailors said to each other, come, let us cast lots to find out who is responsible for this calamity. They cast lots, and all the lots fell on Jonah. We ain't even got to, look, let's cast lots. Let's find out let's find out who has brought all this madness on to us. That's what the text says. Now you got to remember that my text, my version may sound a little bit different than what you're used to. Watch this. He says, in verse 8, they says, so they asked him, tell us who's responsible for making all this trouble for us. What kind of work do you do? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you? Man, tell us what's going on. Give us your resume. Tell us what's happening with you. Because, see, there's something different about you. Because now watch this. This is something they did on a regular, never encountered that kind of storm, that kind of wind. Now, you know, if that's what they did regularly, you know they had their way of checking what? The weather report. So, all right. He says, I'm a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord God of heaven, who maketh the sea and the dry land. Verse number 10. So this terrified them, and they asked, what in the world have you done? They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. That's verse 10. That's where we're going to stop at. Right instructions, wrong response.